Wasn't until we started through hiking long distances,
as in 3,000 miles in 4.5 months from Mexico to Canada,
that either of us really honed in on how to pack a backpack for comfort.
And we have a lot of practice doing it right. We've packed and unpacked these bags literally hundreds of days straight on our through hike.
So we're gonna show you how we do it, and just as importantly, we're gonna show you how these same exact principles apply, whether you're backpacking in the wilderness, backpacking on trains across Europe, or just loading a heavy pack for a drive to work or a walk to school.
Let's get into it. All right, so before we get into packing all this stuff into our backpacks correctly, let's talk about the 4 wrong ways to pack backpack that we showed you in the beginning.
So in the first example, you saw hanging a lot of stuff off the outside of the pack. There was pots and pans, there was a tent, there could be shoes. This throws off your center of gravity and makes it so the weight pulls you backwards instead of down on your hips. You want all of the weight as close to your back as possible. The second example was actually pretty similar to that, but it was the most extreme example. We had a bear canister, which is required in some areas and always a pain to put in your pack, but we had it strapped to the outside back of a backpack. Because of physics, this is the worst possible place to put some stuff. Let me show you. Renee, hold your hand up like this, close to your body. Now I'm gonna try to push it down. You're fighting me pretty well. Now hold it out, far away from your body, and fight just as hard.
Oh God.
You don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance. So imagine having that bear canister way off the back of the pack. It's terrible. It's not where you want it. If you can't get it in, you can put it on top if you have to, but do not put it off the back of your backpack.
So the third wrong example was a pack packed with a bunch of stuff and compression sacks. Those may seem like a good idea, and they definitely love selling them at the stores.
There's aisles of that stuff at the store.
But in reality, you want everything in your pack to mold together. Think about that center of gravity. If you use those stuff sacks and compression sacks, it leads to air pockets and things being unbalanced. So you really want to do everything you can to have a balanced load.
As few stuff sacks as possible. Yeah, you got a big empty gap back here. Your pack's more full and it's got more empty gaps.
This side is a lot lighter than the other side. Falling over this way.
So the fourth example was trying to carry extra stuff in addition to a backpack. If your stuff doesn't fit, it's really tempting to grab a shopping bag and load it up. But think about when you're coming back from the grocery store, and if you're like me, you carry everything you can in a single load no matter what. When you leave the car on your way into the kitchen, sometimes it's not so bad. But almost always, by the time I get to the kitchen, I am dying because it's heavy. And just imagine that, when you leave a car with a backpack and like a couple bags on the side, it might not feel so bad, but 100 meters or a mile into that hike, you are going to be regretting that like nothing else. So if you can't fit everything in your backpack, you got 2 options. 1, get a bigger backpack. 2, leave some stuff behind.
All right, so here's how we actually pack our backpacks for comfort. We actually learned this method a week into our first walk from Mexico to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail. And we haven't looked back since. So thank you to those people who taught us how to pack it correctly.
Sleeping bag goes in first. What's really, really different from how I used to pack a backpack is we do not use a stuff sack for our sleeping bag. The backpack itself is going to be the stuff sack, and you will be so grateful when you give this a try. Can't recommend it enough. So take a look at how Renee is pushing that sleeping bag down into the bottom of her pack. She's making sure to fill all the air gaps, all the pockets, and just build a nice base. Depending on how much stuff we have, we might push it more or less down because we want to fill the space of the backpack, and the sleeping bag is really adaptable to fill more or less space depending on how much you push it.
All right, so on top of our sleeping bags, we put our heavy stuff, including electronics and food. I always like to just throw my electronics because they really just mold into your sleeping bag. And then food, we usually keep in a bear-proof container. This is a bear-proof bag, then we put that on top. I also make sure, in addition to food, I put in my first aid kit and toiletries. It's right in the food bag. Bear safety, and keeps it organized.
I almost forgot some food.
Speaking of our first aid kit, something we always have in there is a small blade for gear repair. We want to show you one we really like. This is the Utility Camp Knife by Olfaworks. It's lightweight, compact, just really easy to carry. And it has a retractable blade, so you don't poke yourself. The retractable blade is something we really like. You just turn the knob, put it out, tighten it, and there you go. And when you're done, just put it away. Another feature we really like is that the blade is really sharp, but if anything ever happens to the blade, it is replaceable.
So when we're out on a trip, what we end up using this for the most is actually gear repair and first aid. In terms of gear repair, you never know when something will break in the field and you'll have to cut a piece of technical tape or a piece of rope to get it working again. And in terms of first aid, unfortunately, blisters are a reality on the trail, and occasionally we have to cut a piece of medical tape to put on our feet to prevent or treat a blister.
Olfa Works is the outdoor arm of Olfa, a 70-year-old family company with a history in Japanese sword making. Olfa Works has some other bushcraft and utility knife options as well. We've also been using the saw on our hot tent camping trips.
We've been totally loving it for cutting firewood to use on our hot tent trips, which we've gone on a bunch this year. The blade is crazy sharp, and I'm super pleased with that retractable mechanism, which is the same across their line of product.
Check out Olfa Works at the link down below. We really like their knives and we think you will too. Now let's get back to packing.
So the reason we just put in the food on top of the sleeping bag is because that has it in the middle, which is good for center of gravity. It's not gonna be top heavy, it's not gonna be bottom heavy, it's just, that's the best place for your heavy stuff, right in the middle. If we're using bear canisters, we put those right in the middle too. So it doesn't have to be this food bag that's moldable. It's always much more pleasant to use that, but a bear canister, either vertical or horizontal, right on top of the sleeping bag is the preferred spot.
So on top of the heavy stuff goes the light stuff. And for us, that is our clothing. So these bags are the only exception to our stuff sack rule. And we don't actually like fold them up and compress them down or anything. We just leave them open. The reason we carry them in a bag is we actually use them as a pillow overnight.
And these are waterproof bags, so even though we don't close them up tight to keep them flexing to the shape of the backpack, if it's raining, we close them up and roll them. We make some sacrifices in the rain to avoid wet stuff, because that's a nightmare.
And just a reminder, in these clothing bags, we don't bring extra clothing. It's our puffy jackets, raincoats, and base layers, and some extra socks and underwear. We're wearing these same outfits every day, so that's why they're not very huge. And then next up for me in the light category goes the tent.
For me, the next category is the pot. This isn't that light, but I keep it kind of close to the top because I'm often accessing it during the day if we're gonna make an extra coffee or make lunch with it. I'll show you this pot is already quite a bit packed because inside it I have a bandana I use for wiping my nose or wiping out the pot. I have teeny tiny stove, I have a lighter, I have fuel. Very convenient to be able to fit all of that stuff in one tiny kitchen. Our spork doesn't fit inside this tiny kitchen, and that drives me crazy, and I'm always worried I'm gonna lose the spork.
And we have before.
We have lost it before. You'll see where I put that soon. But I generally just nestle this pot down next to my clothing bag. Never looks like it's gonna fit, but it always does. So I've got pot here, clothing bag there.
And so if we were backpacking alone, not together, and we weren't sharing the pot and the tent could easily just fit right on top of that.
Inside the backpack, still plenty of space. And we've both done trips where we're carrying stove, pot, and tent individually.
Another convenient thing, our tent is very light, and we like to keep it on top because that's the last thing we put away in the morning and the first thing we take out at night to set up. So kind of convenient having it on top. We also have a sheet of Tyvek, which is an extra layer that we can put under our tent, or we use it to wrap up our sleeping pads for waterproofness.
That's kind of cool and interesting, actually. We'll show you that in a few minutes. Once everything's packed, we'll show you our waterproof approach, which includes a fun combination of the Tyvek and the sleeping pad. Okay, I think we're ready to close the main compartments.
We're ready to close.
So this is everything that goes inside the backpacks. Everything else is going to go outside, and we'll show you where in a minute. But we should mention, these are pretty small backpacks, and we have pretty small stuff. That tent is tiny. Our sleeping bags compress tightly. If you don't have tiny stuff, we said earlier, it's tempting to start strapping things to the outside. It's really a better idea to get a bigger backpack in that case. The more inside, the better.
So what's left is our sleeping pads are easy. Those are just too big to go in the backpack, so I guess that's an exception, but they're extremely light. They just go on top.
I have tried to put this in the backpack. It does fit inside, but it makes it lopsided. It's so light and so bulky that can live outside. It doesn't throw off your center of gravity.
The rest of the stuff that's laying out here is things we'll be using during the day. So our phone for maps, some snacks for the day, our toilet, just in case an emergency calls on the trail, all goes in the outside or in our hip belts.
We always load our day's worth of snacks into our hip belt pockets. I also always keep the spork in the hip belt pocket. I don't like putting it there. It's a bad spot. I need a better spot. This is just what I do because I don't have a better spot. I think I'm more likely to lose it in the back than I am in the hip belts.
I also like to put my phone in the hip belt, easy access for maps.
Renee puts the phone in the hip belt. I put the phone in my pants pocket. As a bigger person, I tend to have bigger pants pockets. They can hold my phone, and that gives me easier access for filming throughout the day. Water bottles go on the sides. When choosing a backpack, getting side pockets that fit your water bottles is surprisingly worth considering. Sometimes backpacks have small or large side pockets, so check those out as you make your choice based on which water bottles you like to use. This is a satellite messenger. It's important for safety. You can send a satellite message for emergency response if something happens out there and there's no cell phone, or we can use it to send text messages to each other, like if one of us is out and the other one's at home. We keep that easy access usually in case of a dangerous part of the trail. You wouldn't want this buried in your backpack. If you slip, if you fall, if you break your leg and it's buried, you might not be able to get it. But if it's outside, you can access that pretty easily.
And then we also throw hand sanitizer and poop
That's our
shovel,
bathroom.
a bathroom, and some sunscreen, things we need access to during the day. You know, this is probably how we would start the morning. If we get hot, we might take off our long sleeves and throw them in the outside also. So
Right in there. That's a loaded pack. That is ready to go in theory. We got some more stuff we want to show you though, but let's just do a little modeling. Here we are. It's tight, like that's what's important. All the weight is as close to our bodies as possible. If I push you lightly, you're not gonna fall over backwards.
you know, you're packing your packs every day and your food is getting smaller and smaller, so don't be afraid to adjust all the different adjustments on your backpack to get it comfortable and close to your body. You know, not resting on your shoulders, resting on your hips and close to your body so you can just comfortably walk.
And adjust it throughout the day. It's not like a bicycle where you can get it professionally fitted and you never want to touch that stuff again. Depending on your fatigue level or your changing load, whether it's water changes or the slope of the trail can even change what's most comfortable for your load. So adjust all your straps for maximum comfort.
So to summarize all that rambling, make a nice base on the bottom with your sleeping bag, heavy stuff like food and electronics in the middle, light stuff on top like clothing, a tent, and your kitchen, your sleeping pad. On the outside, easy access to things you'll be using throughout the day like your water bottles, snacks, extra layers, cell phones.
Not everybody is gonna backpack with the exact same set of stuff that we backpack with. Some people carry sleeping pads that compress small and are inflatable. Everybody's got something different, but you can follow these principles no matter what. Sleeping bag bottom, heavy middle, light top. And follow those principles across the board, you'll be a happier backpacker. One more thing, which is what do we do in case of rain or water? Prolonged experience with water.
And not like a light drizzle, prolonged periods of rain or heavy rain. You know, these backpacks are water resistant, our backpacks are. You know, if it's a light, misty rain, we don't get too concerned. We don't really do anything different.
When it's raining and raining and raining, or if we're using packs that are not waterproof-ish like these are, we have to change some things up.
A great example of that comes to mind is on the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada. The last 2 weeks in Washington, we had rain every single day for 2 weeks straight, and occasionally snow when we got up to higher elevations. It was pretty miserable. We kept our stuff dry, which is super important. You need a dry sleeping bag and dry base layer for when you're not walking. You need to be warm and dry in your tent.
Let's show the two major changes we do in that case. Number one, we need to protect our sleeping pads. If these things get wet, that wetness will go straight onto our sleeping bags, which then becomes useless. A down sleeping bag, once it's wet, there's no insulating properties. It might as well be a mesh sheet of paper. So we actually use the Tyvek. We discovered this technique out of necessity when it was raining and we didn't have a cover for our sleeping pads. And then we learned, no, it's actually a really good technique and we use it every time on purpose now.
On the Pacific Crest Trail, you know, you don't need a piece of Tyvek. On the Pacific Crest Trail, we didn't have Tyvek with us because our tent situation was different then. But as soon as we got into a town, we bought some big, heavy-duty plastic trash bags and just put those big black trash bags over our things, and that kept them dry.
But if you don't have a trash bag and you do have Tyvek, you can make a burrito. So we throw these down, roll them. The Tyvek is waterproof. If you roll it tight, you end up with a nice little burrito sleeping pad. Get a job at Chipotle someday, that's a nice roll. And that can go right on top of your pack. And with the strap, that will be waterproof. It's not getting wet, whatever you do. So that is change number one that we do in case of prolonged rain. Change number two is even more interesting. You saw that we don't use stuff sacks, especially not for our sleeping bags. This backpack, even though it's supposed to be waterproof, it's not totally waterproof. Water always gets in. So we've got to do something to protect those sleeping bags just with the stuff you saw. So Renee, what are you gonna do?
Take everything out. All right. So I'm going to put it in my clothing bag. Take out my rain jacket and put that on because it's raining. So that gives me some space. Not ideal and against all the principles we told you, but necessary for safety.
Break all the rules to keep your stuff dry.
Throw it in my stuff sack.
Put your coat back in there too.
Oh, crap.
So this is pretty cool. Even though we don't have a stuff sack for our sleeping bags, we've discovered that you can get a sleeping bag into just about any stuff sack. So all of the clothes she'd have on a trip, also magically the sleeping bag fit in.
And instead of leaving it open in my backpack, I would actually close it. Okay. Haven't done this in a while because I haven't had much rain lately. Not doing a good job there. Should have just stood up like you, used my body weight.
You should have. Look at that. This one's really waterproof.
Yeah.
Water should not get through that.
In order for it to be totally waterproof, you're supposed to roll it like 3 times before you twist it over. So
Now
that
that's
is
a brick.
Now that's a brick. Not super comfortable, but that goes into the bottom of my pack, all the way to the bottom. Notice we keep our electronics in a plastic Ziploc bag, good for waterproof and organization.
This is a pretty cool demo. Now that Renee has really stuffed that backpack, her pack has compressed, probably smaller than she'd like, and a little heavy at the bottom and not quite filled out right, but it works. Now that is a waterproof backpack. She is not gonna get all messed up and have to sleep in a wet sleeping bag and get hypothermia. And there you have it. That is how we pack our backpacks. We've done this probably 1,000 times over the last several years and works like a charm. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of our tips from the trail, make sure you subscribe and we will see you out there. Have a good one.